Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this last Epoch video, I want to talk to you about my Void Knight that I've been running in Season 2. I've been running Void Hammer, which is hammer throw, shield throw, and some Void abilities woven in there as well. Basically, you're going to have all these hammers spiraling around you with their Void auras dealing damage. It's really fun to get a mass swarm of these hammers and then Devouring Orb and everything following you around the map. So far, I've gotten to 300 corruption, and I've tried normal Aberoth, and I believe once I have the perfectly rolled gear that we're going to talk about in this guide video, we will be able to take it down. But for now, let's go ahead and jump right into the video guide. The very first ability that you're going to spec into is, of course, Hammer Throw. Whenever I go Hammer Throw, I usually like to go up here to double damage chance. And then for this build, you're going to have to go over to make it so the hammers will spiral around you. And then these ones will allow them to actually orbit your character. After that, you can come down here for more chance to deal double damage. And if you put all 5 points in here, you can actually guarantee that this thing does do double damage all the time. But I was having mana issues, so I put 2 points over here to reduce the mana cost. And then, of course, you're going to pick up catapults so that you throw out even more hammers. Now, what makes this work and fit into the whole Void Knight thing is with Disintegrating Aura over here, you're going to be able to put a Disintegrating Aura on each hammer that's going to deal void damage over time to nearby enemies. Now this is really great. This is going to scale with your increased void damage, damage over time, and throwing attack damage. And then of course we're going to come up here to get even more damage for that aura. Now the second ability you're going to want to spec into is Shield Throw. Now this is actually in the Forge Guard tree, and you have to have 5 points in here. So you won't be able to actually unlock this until a little bit after you've unlocked your second mastery slot at level 8. So what I recommend doing is once you hit level 8, spec into your shield rush. And this one you can actually use through the campaign and the early end game and stuff for mobility and just speeding through maps. I absolutely love it, but eventually you will want to spec out of it. But we can go ahead and talk about that void tree. Went ahead and jumped into last epoch tools and shield rush really quick. Here you're going to want to, of course, come down here to get more damage and then change it to void damage. Now, a fun little thing you can do here is you can get void beams that go forward and also one that goes backwards. It's, again, shield rush is really going to be for mobility and just rushing through maps. Eventually, you're going to want to spec out of it and go into symbols, but we'll talk about that later down the line. Also grab mana efficiency, damage reduction while you're rushing, as well as stun chance. Now let's go ahead and jump back into the game here, and we're going to go back to talking about shield throw. So once you have shield throw unlocked, again, it's 5 points into Forge Guard. We'll talk about the passive tree here in a little bit. Now, shield throw is really great. It's going to give you a ton of buffs. The very first one I like here is I'll put 1 point into heavy shield, but the armor shred that you can get right here from this node is great. You definitely want to go 4 out of 4. And then after that, I come down here to add on a cooldown, because basically what's going to happen is you're just going to cast shield throw every time it's off cooldown to get some pretty awesome buffs. So you can also make it ricochet more times, and you can also make it so it ricochets to you as well. And this will make it so that when you're in a single target boss fight, something like that, this will keep that shield throw going and bouncing around so that you can keep up that Colossus buff. Now what Colossus is, it lasts for 4 seconds and it stacks up to 20 times. Now if you spec into it this way, you're going to have 20 stacks instantly pretty much every time that you cast shield throw. After that, you're going to put 2 points to reduce the mana cost. Not that important, but it helps. But it's more so to get down here to Health Leech. Now, Health Leech is something we're going to see throughout this build. And then after that, you could round out the rest of your damage and throwing damage here on Heavy Shield. Next up, you're going to want to grab Devouring Orb, and this is actually going to be in your Void Knight tree right here. So once you have enough points, and you can put that into your mastery here. This one is pretty cool. Shout out to Diz for pointing this one out to me, that you can make it cast while you move. So it's going to be a Void Orb, and you can make it so it orbits you, and then, as I said, cast it when you move, when it's off cooldown. Now, what's really cool about this is if you're fighting something and you see it's off cooldown, you just kind of sidestep a little bit, and there you go, you got another orb going. You're also going to make this thing do void damage on impact. You're going to get more damage, as well as orbit range. Now the orbit range I really like because this will help you hit those further away monsters. We're also going to pick up void penetration, as well as duration and time rot. Now time rot's not a huge part of this build, but we'll reference it a little bit here in the video. It's just another little layer of damage, kind of like Devouring Orb, I guess, in that sense. You're also going to be able to increase the radius of these orbs, and then down here with damage over time, I've thought about taking out these points and actually getting more global void damage and mana regen, but for now this is what I've had and what I've used to get to the 300 corruption that I'm sitting at currently. After Devouring Orb, I would pick up Anomaly. This one's really cool. By default, it kind of has a two-part mechanic that I really didn't like when I was trying it out. But you can spec into this so that it just triggers the thing immediately. You're going to want to grab that first, and then you can come down here to Time Bubble. It lasts for 5 seconds, and this will shred their void resistance, which is really nice. So you can do more void damage to the monsters. You can also make the bubble last longer, but what's really awesome is you can make this bubble follow you around. Now, initially the bubble is pretty small, so I'm hoping to get some levels to Anomaly so I can put more points here and make it a bigger area. But after that, you're going to want to come up here just 1 point, and then after that, you can unlock more Health Leech. Second time now we've mentioned Health Leech, you're going to see that trend. The effect is doubled for void damage, you can see right here as well. And then, of course, we're going to get increased Health Leech. Next up, we have Symbols of Hope, and we're actually going to convert these to Symbols of Despair, which is going to give us more void damage per symbol, and it's also going to convert all the fire damage on the tree into void damage. This is going to provide a ton of buffs, not only that void damage that I just talked about, but also damage per active symbol, crit chance per symbol, as well as mana regen. And to top it all off, you're going to come up here and get a whole extra symbol here for even more buffs. Now again, symbols would probably be the last one I would grab. Once you've decided you want to be done with Shield Rush, you could spec out of that and go into symbols. But I do recommend using Shield Rush for the campaign and early endgame. It really helps speed things up. Those are all your skills and how I've spec'd them to get to 300 corruption. Now let's go ahead and touch on passives. I kind of want to just gloss over this. We're not going to deep dive or anything like that, but I'll have the last Epoch tools linked down if you want to copy it. But we'll just kind of talk about some options here. When you very first start out with your Sentinel, I would go 8 points here to Juggernaut for your strength, so you're getting more damage. And then also that fire and void resistance is nice as well. And then down here for void and health regen, a huge part of this build, as I said, is leech, but also your health pool. Your health is extremely important for this build since we're not running ward or anything. After that, I'd come put 4 points here into Relentless so that you're at 20 points in Sentinel, and then come down to Forge Guard, put 5 points here to get block chance, armor, and block effectiveness. But more importantly, to unlock that shield throw, we already covered that skill tree. After that, you come up and put the other 6 points into here to get more damage. And then you're pretty much done with the Sentinel tree. After that, you can come down here. It depends if you're going to go into Symbols of Hope sooner or later. If you want it sooner, you don't want to do the Shield Rush thing, you could come down here, put 15 points into Paladin. I put them in here again for block chance. And then 10 points over here for the health. The health is super, super important for this build. But that's to unlock your Symbols of Hope. On to the Void Knight passive tree. This tree is pretty interesting, and there's still a lot of options that I feel like maybe are untapped potential for me. But this is just what I've used so far. Down here, these are all leech nodes, and the very first part also increases your damage. But what's really cool is you're going to get the double effect of this node whenever you've gotten a recent kill, which is going to be literally all the time. You're killing monsters all the time in this game. You can also get Void Damage Leech's health, which is really nice. We're doing Void Damage. And then you can also get Health Leech and Leech Rate. Now, back here, when we're talking about damage, you can pick up Void Damage, and you can take that further. And I don't have the points in there right now because I had to spend them elsewhere to get health and stuff. But you can get Throwing Void Damage. So once you have enough health on your gear to make up for the passive tree, you could put points and grab more damage here, obviously. Back here, you can get Health, Void, and Physical Resistance. And then this node was void damage over time and reduced damage from crits. Now we're actually going to cap our critical strike avoidance, so that's not going to be that important, but the void damage over time is really nice. I went over here and grabbed this passive for obviously more health now. You're going to see a trend here. We also get void damage and movement speed. Now a huge mechanic for the Void Knight is allowing your melee attacks, throwing attacks, and void spells to have a chance to echo, which means that they're going to repeat and cast again after a half of a second. They have a chance to do this anyway, and you can bolster that chance by picking up nodes here in your passive tree. Right here you can see 1 point, you get more echo chance, and then you can get even more through all these different nodes and stuff, and you can also do a bunch of different things with time rot and everything. But again, this is just what I've used to clear 300 corruption, and the first 10 harbingers. I want to go ahead and talk about loot, idols, and blessings next. I'm going to go ahead and jump back here into last epoch tools. Now you're going to be looking for anything that has increased damage with hammer throw, increased throwing crit chance. You're going to be looking for strength as another great way to scale hammer throw damage as well. And of course your resistances. Down here you can get more of the same basically, but you can also pick up void damage and void spell damage, which will benefit hammer throw and our devouring orbs. Over here on your weapon, you're going to want this base item here. It's a sword that gives you damage over time, and then you can get more damage over time from the modifiers, void damage, void penetration, as well as armor shred. You can also get health gain on kill. Over on your rings, so your rings, ammi, and belt, you're going to want mana regen. This is a very mana intensive build. So let's go ahead and talk about our rings here. Silver rings for movement speed, void damage, health, crit avoidance to help get to that cap that will pair up with blessings, as well as strength. And this other ring's pretty much the same, except for instead of that crit avoidance, you're going to grab more health and health regen over here. Over on your belt, you're going to want that mana regen, plus to throwing damage, and then hybrid health, and then void damage for your sealed affix. Over on your gloves, the base gloves, you're going to want mana regen, and then you're going to look for throwing damage, throwing attack speed, health, and then your armor shred. And of course, more mana doesn't hurt either. And then over on your relic, now you're going to be looking for the Dread Banner base item. This is going to increase your void damage, and you can get even more void damage on the modifiers, throwing damage, health, and you can get level to hammer throw as well over here on your relic, which is really important, obviously, for the build. And then your ammi, you're going to be looking for a Jade ammi as your base item so that you can get increased throwing attack speed. The throwing attack speed is really, really powerful. Then you can also get void damage, mana regen, armor shred, and health. And of course, remember, you always want to be kind of, balancing your resistances as well. Now over on your shield and boots, these are going to be using the set reforge thing that you can do. Basically, there's a woven echo. You can go in there and you can shatter set items to get affix shards to use just like you would in normal crafting. But over here on the shield, it's really cool. You can use that Forgotten Night set, and you can actually get void damage on your shield. So over on the shield, I would go for block chance, block effectiveness, health, and then of course that void damage from the Forgotten set, and then reduce damage taken on block. Now over on your boots, you're going to be looking for the Xeric set, and this is going to give you leech rate as well as movement speed. And then you're also going to want your health, hybrid health, strength, and movement speed. So those are going to be your items. Quite a lot there that we covered. Let's go ahead and touch on idols. They're a little bit more simple. The very first one you're going to be looking for here is a 2x1. And as I said at the beginning of the video, this is going to convert your shield throw to void damage. You're only going to need one of those modifiers. And then the rest of that 2x1 is going to be void damage over time, crit chance, crit multi, as well as echo damage. Now the next 2x1 is going to be pretty much the same, but instead of that shield void conversion, you're going to be looking at throwing critical multiplier. Lastly, you're going to want 3 of the 2x2 adorned idols. This is going to give you void damage if you echoed recently. You can also get damage over time. Then when you go and enchant it in those tombs and those monoliths, you can get more damage over time, crit chance, and crit multiplier. Again, you're going to need 3 of those. Let's go ahead and touch on blessings. There's really not a lot to talk about here. Just 2 really important ones. The first one is that increased void damage that you can find in the Black Sun, and also that crit avoidance that you can find in Reign of the Dragons, and that's going to get you to your crit avoidance cap. Last thing I want to talk about here was the loot filter. Now this thing, I have a couple different layers of it set up. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to export and get these to you. It's probably just going to be, I'll have the file on my Discord or something like that, but I'll let you know. Just check the description in the video below. Pretty much, right now I have it set up with the most strict of exalts only because my gear's decent. We're just looking for like those perfect rolls. But I believe I have one that's like for when you start out and stuff like that. So we'll find a way to get those out to you so you can increase the strictness as you get gear on your own and follow the build guide. And that's going to wrap it up for this last Epoch Void Hammer build guide video. Hopefully you found this video useful and or entertaining. If so, don't forget that like button and subscribe to the channel if you think I've earned it. Please consider becoming a YouTube channel member today. Unlock some pretty fun perks such as behind the scenes, bloopers that I find while editing, early access to videos when I release a whole big batch, and more. But don't forget, your view alone means the absolute world. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.